Yeah. So, Coach, working with Coach DeVries, his system, those type of things. What's this like? I mean, some are new in terms of coaches, some aren't. So, explain what he does and what he does well.
Well, I would say he's incredibly detailed. He does a really good job of focusing on what winning looks like. Obviously, he's been around that a lot. I don't think he's ever witnessed a losing season in his coaching career. So he's been around winning, and it does look like winning when you're around it. And I've been around losing too through my career, and you feel losing, and he focuses in on what helps guys win, what those details are offensively and defensively, and he hits on it every single day. He is a stickler for not only the details, but the guy's passion. I think that's the one thing that I've learned the most from him in my 6-7 months of being here is he's incredibly focused on the passion and energy that our guys bring to every single day. And he does a really good job of not only just harping on that, because it can become a little bit white noise if you're just saying you got to play more passionate, but he figures out different ways to push guys' buttons depending on who that is, and it's a lot harder nowadays. Like, it's back in the day, you used to know a guy and you used to be able to coach them in a certain way, and you recruited them for 2 or 3 years, and then you'd coach them for a year most times before they played. Now you get 6-7 months with them, and you got to learn them quickly. And I think he's done, from what I've seen so far, he's done a really good job of doing that thus far. And now we get into when adversity hits, who are we? And I think from the guys that I've been blessed enough to be around, he's done that at the highest level, better than I've seen.
Great comment for Bloomfield News. I didn't follow Brian's instructions, but to follow up with that a little bit, you said you can tell when you're on the staff sometimes difference winning it and losing. Mm-hmm. Explain what is the difference. What can you feel? A
lot of times it's are you willing to who are you when adversity hits? Everybody's fine when it's 70 and sunny, right? Like, everybody can coach that, but adversity is going to come. And who are you when that adversity comes and when it hits? So whether that be a run in practice, whether that be somebody's sick, somebody gets hurt, somebody has some sort of issue, and we've had different things throughout our offseason here that have hit, and whatever those it might have been, he has consistently responded in a way of focusing in on what is the most important thing. And to me, it's helping them be men of character, right? So, like, when it hits, it's not focusing on, just a possession or a win or a loss but who are you when that comes? Because you're either going to be a man of character or you're going to run and you're going to point the finger towards everybody else. So he does a really good job of every single day making sure that our guys are focusing on the right thing. We, team, us. And that's what he talks about consistently.
To a new program with a new group of coaches, after you had obviously a really good basic experience at your previous couple of stops, specific things that you focus on that you try to either learn first or get comfortable with first?
Honestly, as an assistant, it's all about what's most important to the head coach, because everybody's a little bit different. Different things were more important to Coach Green, who I played for at Indiana, to Coach Alford, who I coached with for 11 years, to Coach DeVries. So there are things that are important to him, and what's important to him has to be the most important thing to each and every one of the people on his staff, because obviously that's what's going to lead to winning. He's seen winning a lot, and we're only going to win in his way if we're all trying to do it our own ways or what we've seen. Or now I will say he does a really good job of, when we meet, when we all come together, he wants to hear what other people have done. He wants to hear what other people's point of views are, because I think, like I said, he has such a good pulse for winning. He's not afraid to hear somebody else's voice, and he pulls in of, I really like that, and that can fit into what we do. And he does that consistently and asks our opinion every single day, which not all guys do. There's some people who are a little more dictatorship. This is the way that we do it. We're going to do it this way every day. He does a good job of communicating not only with his assistants but with his players and taking in what each and every individual says, and then using that to help us move in the right direction towards winning.
One or two different things here that you weren't, quite at that importance level of previous stops?
Yeah, I would say his focus in on especially offensive detail. I haven't seen that during my time. Coach Green was a ton of set type of guy where he ran a lot of different action. Coach Alford was a little bit more of the motion-based. Coach DeVries does both. He does a really good job of kind of mixing it. He has sets that'll get to what we need to get to for a certain player to get shots or whatever that might be. But then he also does an unbelievable job of just teaching the flow of the game, which I think through hopefully Charleston you guys get to see a little bit, but you'll see as we go along the season is he teaches guys how to play, not just where to be on a certain call, right? And that's the most important thing, because like same thing as in life, where we talked about, like adversity is going to hit during a game. There's going to be a team that pressures us, and I'm doing a scout now, and the one team that we're going to play soon is going to pressure us like crazy. How do we handle that? How are we able to react in those situations? Because the whole offseason is about drilling in on their habits and their details, because you're not going to rise to the occasion. You're going to follow the level of what you trained at every single day, and he does a really good job of training that every single day, what that looks like no matter what we see.
How are you adjusting to Morgantown? And I mean, you've been a little of everywhere, I understand. So
Yeah.
how are you adjusting?
It feels like home to me, honestly. Like LA was a great experience. Newly married, no kids, living in a 2-bedroom apartment for way too much money. But now I get back a little bit closer to. Really, I was raised in Indiana, so this feels a lot like Indiana. Morgantown feels a lot like Bloomington. A cool college town, an hour south of a major city, and the people have been unbelievably kind, and they embrace us. And both my 2 little boys are in school here. I got a 6 and 3-year-old, and my wife's done an unbelievable job of making this home right away. I think that's the most important thing in coaching is having a good wife, and I do. I'm blessed that way. So I've loved it so far. The people have been awesome, and we're looking forward to building this thing up.
Coach, Justin Jackson with the Dominion Post. Welcome to Morgantown.
Thank you.
The one thing that is, with the portal where
Yeah.
I guess this is what we're in now, I guess. I've seen a lot of examples where bringing in a bunch of new faces onto one roster have never played together. I've seen that go bad.
Mm-hmm.
What's the secret to Coach DeVries making it go well, I guess? What have you seen there with, because, he's in that situation,
Yeah.
13 new guys, I guess, basically. So.
No doubt. Well, starting the offseason, I'll tell you, my first 2 months of coaching with him, probably my biggest frustration with him was like I'd find a player that I wanted to recruit, and we would do our background checks, and if there was any type of flag, he had a really good pulse of, I know what my locker room looks like. I know who I want to coach. I know who I want to go to battle and war with every single day. And then if it doesn't look like that, then it doesn't fit who I am. And so I would say it was a frustration, because it was like, well, that's a great recruit that averaged X and rebounds, points, whatever. But it also was refreshing. It's a lot easier to work for somebody who knows what they want, and he knows exactly who he wants to coach and who he wants to go to war with in that locker room. And that's one thing that he does probably better than I've ever been around is. He brings the group together to, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to battle together. Every single time is going to be a different type of challenge, but it's going to be about us consistently. It doesn't mean we're going to win every single night. Even when we lose, we're going to learn a lot from that. So he does a really good job of pulling from every single day of what was good, what was bad, and learning from it.
So culture, character kind of outweigh stats, recruiting rankings?
I would definitely say so. Yeah, and obviously stats and recruiting rankings are, I would say stats are incredibly important, because recruiting rankings, I would say that where they come into play is there's probably people that he trusts, that he has a good relation with, that he trusts their eye, because you can't see all million recruits that are in however many kids are in the portal, 1,000. Like, we didn't see all 1,000 of those kids live, but I mean, the coaching profession is this. So we know a trusted scout who saw that kid live and was around that kid as he grew up, or a coach who was around him as he grew up that we can call, that we trust. And because there's a lot about character. Like, I've had times especially in Nevada, even a little bit at UCLA, where we brought a kid in who, a guy that I didn't know very well, may have said all the right things about him, but then later on I found out there was somebody else I should have been talking to that would have told me, hey, when adversity hits, he might not be the guy that you want in the locker room. And so coaches do a really good job of finding the right people around them, the voices that he can trust to kind of wade through the noise. There's a lot of noise, so yeah.
You obviously coached in some high-level conferences. What's the perception of the Big 12 and the new Big 12 with some of the old Pac-12 members? How difficult is this going to be?
Pretty brutal, yeah. Yeah, it's tough. There's just no off nights. I think that's the biggest difference between the Big 12 and any other league. It's just, I won't go through it because I don't want to disrespect any programs, but everywhere that I've been, you had nights where I guess there were games that you really should win, right? Like, it's just going to be really hard here to find those nights. It's every single time. And even if you go play number 1 in the country and follow it up with a home game against number 5, you still got to go beat number 24. And a lot of times it's on the road. So that's hard. And there's not many leagues like that. I was blessed enough to be in the Big Ten when it was high level. I mean, the year my GA year there, we were number one in the country a lot of the year. Michigan ended up going to the Final Four. Ohio State was top 10 all year. Michigan State was top 10 all year. But there was a bottom. Like, if you go back and study it, there was 6 through, I don't even remember how many teams we had then. I think it was closer to 12. Like, so 6 through 12 were teams that we did beat and we should have beat. And then you just had to really focus on winning versus the top 6. It's not like that here, because 6 through however many teams we have now, 27. You gotta compete every single night and come with that. And a lot of that is what we're talking about, is responding to adversity, because you're gonna have a hard game, or you don't play well, or the other team just hits every single shot and they play great. Their home crowd's rocking, and then now you got to come home and you got to beat a really, really good team and respond after things didn't go your way. Who are you when that level of adversity hits?
Cody Nesper, West Virginia Sports Now. When you're doing something like that, on the road, 2 days later back here, 3 days after that back on the road, how do you find time for the guys to relax?
Yeah.
Because so they don't burn out in January.
It's hard. It's a grind. It really is. Yeah. It's obviously I haven't been around Tim for that part of the season yet, so we'll see how he handles all that. But it's a lot of times it's our guys connecting. Like, I'll say as a guy, I was blessed enough to go through a lot of adversity in Indiana. Like, when I was there, my freshman and sophomore year, we were really bad. Probably some of the worst Indiana teams ever. Now it was Coach Crean coming in and taking over a whole new program, and so it was expected. The expectations weren't there, but it's still really hard. When you're wearing those candy stripes and you're not winning games, the heat gets turned up pretty quick. And I will say those guys are some of my best friends. They were in my wedding. I still talk to them today. So it's just those guys, when adversity hits, whether it's good or bad or whatever it looks like, how are they connecting? And so far from our trip through Italy and through our summers, coaches do a really good job of making sure that they have those opportunities where they're around each other a lot, to where they can get connected. Because like we said, it's transfer portal. A lot of these kids, sometimes, like, I was blessed enough to play with guys for 4 years. I don't know that there's a guy in this roster who's going to play with a player for 4 years. Like, that's kind of mind-blowing, but it just is what it is. It's a part of the culture that we're in, the time that we're in, how the industry has changed. So it's got to look differently, and we have to adjust as coaches.
Greg Carey with West Virginia Metro News. How does your role here maybe compare to previous stuff, specifically defensively, where you had a lot of involvement at Nevada? Yeah,
so Coach has actually moved me over to the offensive side of the ball to kind of talk with him there. So that's a lot of what I did at UCLA when I was with Coach. After I left Indiana, pretty much the 6 years out at UCLA, I was on the offensive side, and then at Nevada, Coach Craig Neal was a really, really good offensive mind. So Coach Alford had him on that side, so he put me in charge of the defense. And I will say it helped me grow a ton. Now offensively, I have a whole different point of view, because I got to witness every single game, every single prep. I was focused on the defense. And then I really learned what's hard to guard. And when I watched film, I would say, man, I'm really worried about how we're going to guard this. Well, now I can flip that. And on the offensive side, I can watch a team and say, this is what's going to be hard for them to guard, because they're switching 4 ways, or they're trying to trap ball screens, or they're running the coverages that I ran last year. I know what they're going to struggle with, because I went through that in practice. I had to cover that in scout, or we didn't guard that well and got lit up on it. So it's helped me to be able to grow as an assistant. I'm thankful for him for being able to be on that side to learn from him, because he does an incredible job of it.
Bob Herzl from Fairmont and Clark. How has it affected you? You've worked at places with tradition like crazy. I mean, Indiana, UCLA. Mm-hmm. You hear where Jerry West went to school. How has that affected you, being involved in those things, and what do they mean to the players that come in?
Man, it's a blessing, and I think I would say it's a little bit of burden's not the right word, but it does put a lot of weight on your shoulders of helping them understand the history that they're walking out there with. Like, the words on the front of your chest mean a lot. Like, obviously in Indiana, like, it meant a lot to me being an Indiana kid, being able to put those candy stripes on and wear Indiana, right? At UCLA, those kids understood that. Here, those West Virginia means a lot. And so, again, I keep going back to it, but coaches do a really good job of getting our guys to help them slowly understand that. I will say nowadays, with TikTok and Twitter and social media, kids don't learn something the first time you tell them. Like, it has to be over time and time and time and time, so that they feel the weight of the importance. And I think thankfully they've been able to see it through this offseason of all the different sports that are going on now, how much West Virginia cares. Like, people who are from here are from here. As somebody who's been in California and Nevada, nothing against those two places, I loved both of them for different reasons, but that's a very transient area. Most people from California aren't from California. And when I'd ask you where you're from, they'd say 10 different states, where people who are from West Virginia are from West Virginia, and they loved it here, and they stayed here, and this is the flagship. And so it means a lot to wear those words in the front of your chest. And it's just...
Interestingly, that you were Cal, West Virginia, got
Right.
to the final and lost to Cal
Right.
by a point in the
Yeah.
semifinal.
Very true. So it's just trying to help them understand that on a daily basis. So it means a lot to them. And I think the cool part has been, I haven't been around a place that has so many former players come back. It's incredible. Like, I've probably met anywhere from 50 to 75 former players here in West Virginia, and it was cool that Coach Beeline's team got to come back, so we got to meet that entire team outside, I think, one individual who didn't come back. So they get to see the former players, hear it from them. Like, this is what it meant for me to play here, and this is what I've seen now afterwards, and how it's helped me further my career, my life, my family. So they've seen it. They've seen how much it means to them, and so they get to feel that weight as they go step onto that court.
Coach, you still have connections with UCLA at all? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
here and there. Yeah, some of our staff's still there.
I was just going to ask, I mean, obviously realignment is kind of
Yeah.
the big story this year. What do they think about being in the Big Ten? And
It depends on who you ask.
I
Yeah.
said, going 2,000 miles to play a conference
I don't think they're
game.
very excited about it. Like, even if you look at, we did a study while we were there because we were long story, but we were trying to fight our administration on how much travel we had to do. But like, even Coach Wooden's record when he had to go out east wasn't very good, because it's hard to go to the East Coast and lose 3 hours, then fly back, and they're doing a lot. Like, it'll be interesting. It's uncharted territories. Nobody's ever really done this, and you got 2 ACC schools on the Pacific Coast, and then you got now a bunch of schools and that are supposed to easily be West Coast schools now in the Big Ten. So it'll be, I'm interested to hear what they have to say after the season. Like, right now, they're all kind of, we don't really know how it'll work. You're going to play on New York on a Tuesday, and then come back and play in LA on a Friday, and they have to go play in Wisconsin on a Monday. That's going to be hard. It's going to be a balance.
Kory, I'm Mike. I work for 24/7 Sports. Your time at Indiana started rough, right?
Yes.
UCLA probably ended rough too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not because of you, but like,
Yeah,
there's all this stuff talk about tradition. With
Yeah.
that comes intense scrutiny too.
Yes.
It ends up great for you as a player at Indiana, and maybe never got the chance to get it turned around at UCLA. But what, under that microscope in those programs, to have expectations, and the noise can really make a difference too. I don't know, how does that? Is change the right word? Change a coach, change a player at that stage of his career?
So if I understand your question correctly, just hey, no, you're good. How to handle the expectations of it?
Yeah, just imagine like, did you know that part of Indiana basketball before you got there, and like you knew what UCLA was? But
Yeah.
like, man, do they really have sharp teeth like that?
Yeah.
Because it was pretty good before that too.
It was. Yeah, it's hard. Like, it's all about what I've learned through it's all about expectations. And unfortunately, I think, because a lot of times the outside can't fully understand, like what we've talked about, when you're putting 13 new guys on a team, nobody can tell you what they're going to look like when adversity hits, right? So it's is there coaching involved in that? Yes, but also there's a lot of parenting involved in that, how they're born and raised, and as coaches, we got to do a really good job of having that pulse. But there's going to be a little bit that's outside of your control. And I will say, at UCLA, I learned a ton, and it was a lot of fun. But that pressure is immense. I mean, we went to 3 straight Sweet 16s, won a Pac-12 championship our first year, and I think the year we got fired was maybe the year after Lonzo Ball's team, and we were number 1 in the country a lot of the year, and it's a kind of a part of what it is there. If you don't go to Final Fours at that school, you're gonna get let go pretty quickly. It's just the weight of being the UCLA coach, and we knew that going in. That wasn't. It's part of the blessing. Part of the blessing is the burden, right? So the same thing in Indiana. Like, the pressure in Indiana is immense, and why is that? Because those fans love Indiana basketball, right? Like, it's you want to complain about it of, well, be more realistic or be this or be that, but they love it because they're that passionate about it, and that's, if their support level is that, it's hard to argue it. Like, if they're packing the house every night in Indiana and having 17,000 strong, they're supporting in that way. They want to be able to watch a team that competes at that level every single night.
So you mentioned Indiana's warm-up pants twice. Do you still have a pair? Did you manage to
Get
get away with wearing?
I have them in my drawer in here. Yeah, I do. Chester played at Illinois when I was in Indiana, so I've pulled him out a few times just to mess with him. Yeah.
Coach, thank you.
Yeah.